Are you moving or relocating to Columbus, Ohio and thinking about buying a home? Well, I don't know if you've been following the news the past few months, but the way we do real estate in Ohio and all over the country is rapidly changing due to a class action lawsuit that was filed against the National Association of Realtors, or NAR. If you have no idea what I'm talking about and you're thinking about buying a home in Ohio or even selling one, you're going to want to make sure you watch this entire video. I'm going to go over the entire lawsuit, how that lawsuit is going to drastically affect you when you buy a home in Ohio, when this is all going down, and it all starts right now. So let's go! If you're new to my channel, my name is Mark Van Stein, and I make videos about real estate and living in Columbus, Ohio. My goal is to give you, the viewer, a really good understanding on what it's like to live here. Most of the videos I make are lighthearted about neighborhoods and schools and the best areas to live. This one's going to be a little bit different, but if you're buying or selling a home, probably the most important video you're going to watch all year long. The subject matter is going to be a little bit dry, but it's super important you understand what is occurring in the real estate industry right now. First, let me break down the lawsuit. It's not the intention of this video to argue for or against the settlement, just to give you the facts on how it's going to affect you if you're buying or selling a home. The Stinther-Burnett class action lawsuit was filed in Missouri federal court by a group of sellers against the National Association of Realtors, or NAR, and the major real estate companies, including Anywhere, Berkshire Hathaway, Home Services, Keller Williams, and RE/MAX. The plaintiffs argued that the real estate commissions were excessively high and that the buyer's agents were being overpaid. They claim that NAR's Code of Ethics and the MLS Handbook, along with the practices of the corporate brokerages, contributed to this inflated commission rates. Well, the big brokerages settled the lawsuit out of court, but the National Association of Realtors decided to fight it. During the trial, the plaintiffs focused on the issue of cooperative compensation, where a listing broker offers compensation to a cooperating broker or buyer's agent. This offer of compensation can be any amount, including $0. The National Association of Realtors presented evidence to demonstrate how a real estate marketplace operates and the benefits of cooperating compensation for the consumer. NAR also argued that its rules promoted free market competition and prohibited any type of anti-competitive behavior. Despite all this, the jury ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. Historically, when a homeowner would list a home to sell with a real estate company, that brokerage would charge the homeowners X% commissions. A portion of that commission would be given, or what we say co-opt, out to a buyer's broker or buyer's agent to bring a ready, willing, and able buyer. What the lawsuit implied was that NAR engaged in a conspiracy to inflate commissions through this co-op policy, effectively setting a price floor for commissions. They contended that this practice violated the Sherman Antitrust Act by limiting competition and inflating the seller's costs. If you're thinking about buying a home in Columbus, Ohio, let me and my team help. I'm a full-time RE/MAX agent, have been helping people move and relocate to Columbus for the past 20 years now. I'm actually a third-generation real estate agent, and my family co-owns our brokerage. More now than ever, it is imperative that you work with a full-time, knowledgeable, experienced agent. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email, however you want to reach out. I'm pretty easy to find and more than happy to help. Now, these types of agreements are not new. They've been around forever. Actually, many agents have been using them for decades. It wasn't something that I or my team would normally use. I'm more of a handshake and my word is my bond type of guy. But now they will be mandatory, and every realtor will have to get them signed for every buyer they are working with. Even if it's a simple showing them one house, some type of written agreement must be in place. Furthermore, there is currently a bill in the Ohio Senate which, if approved, would make this a state law. Now, word on the street is that this bill is going to get approved. It's just a matter of when. There are already a couple of states that have this type of law on the books. And again, most people in the know expect this bill to pass and become law at some point in 2024. The second big part of this is the compensation aspect. Part of what this buyer's broker agreement spells out is how and how much the buyer's agent will be compensated in the transaction. Historically, again, the buyer's agents were paid a certain amount that was co-opted by the seller's agent. A buyer agent might be paid in full by that co-op, partially by that co-op, or maybe not at all by that co-op. If there's no monies being offered by the seller's brokerage, then you, the buyer, will be responsible for paying your buyer's agent out of pocket. This agreement also allows the buyer's agent to negotiate their commission with the seller's brokerage as a form of compensation. That is still the case currently, but even that may also be going away. The important thing to realize is that ultimately you, the buyer, are going to be responsible for making sure your own agent is compensated. At the time of this video, it's been pretty much business as usual here in Central Ohio, with most sellers offering compensation to buyer's agents, but I'm sure that's going to change into the near future. So it becomes even more important to interview and vet a buyer's agent if you choose to use one. I would start the process early, speaking with agents, having conversations about how they work and how they're going to be compensated, and set expectations prior to signing that buyer's broker agreement. Which finally leads me to what many buyers who don't want to pay an agent may try to do, which is work directly with the listing agent. This also isn't uncommon. Every time I list a home for sale, I will have at least one buyer reach out to me who isn't using a buyer's agent and ask me to write an offer for them and ask me to be what's called a dual agent. Dual agency is legal in Ohio. Every state has different real estate laws. But in this scenario, this is not an example of dual agency. Ohio law states that as a seller's agent, I can help a buyer through a transaction without advising them or representing them. A dual agency situation would be if I was currently working with a buyer, out showing them homes, had personal information about them, and then they became interested in one of my listings. Because I have confidential information about the buyer and confidential information about the seller, I would have to be a dual agent in that scenario if all parties agree to allow me to be. Dual agency gets very tricky. I don't like doing it. I've only done it once in the past 20 years. What many buyers who try to work through the listing agent don't realize is that the seller's agent's fiduciary is still to that seller, and that their job is to get the best deal possible for the seller. The buyer is not being represented at all. So before you decide to try buy a home without any type of representation, really think it through. Even if you've bought and sold homes in the past, you may not understand how Ohio laws work, what the local customs are, and to coin a phrase, you don't know what you don't know. Buying a house is the biggest investment most people make in their lifetimes. My recommendation is to have someone representing you, protecting your interest throughout the transaction. Well, I hope this cleared some things up for you. It'll really be interesting to see what happens the rest of 2024. If you're buying a house and think you need some representation, please reach out. You can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. I'm pretty easy to find and more than happy to help. Until next time.